Despace, an optical element in Zemax. In Zemax, when you have a optical system, which we can see, we have three, in this example, we have three lens elements, element 1, element 2, and element 3, and this is the optical axis of the system, which we can consider it in Z direction. We can despace, we can decenter each optical element, which means that we displace them in X and Y direction. Lens can go up and down and see the effect on the focus. Or we can decenter each element, which means that we can move it along the optical axis of your system. So we can move them in Z direction, displace them in Z direction, and see the effect on the focus. Okay, let's open one example, from Zemax samples. Go to samples, open sequential objective, and cook 40-degree field. Okay, here is my optical system, but I cannot see my rays from infinity. In order to see those rays, we can, after the object, we can add one surface. I'm going to call it dummy surface. Dummy surface, and for the thickness, I'm going to, let's say, put 10, and then go to settings, change it to 0. So right now I can see my rays that comes from infinity. So I have three elements, element 1, element 2, and element 3. So right now I'm gonna, for example, move element 1 by 2 millimeter to the right. So in order to do that, you can see this is my element 2, first surface of element 2, second surface of element 2. So I'm gonna add one surface here. And for the comment, I call it Despace element 1. There. So let's update it. Yeah, I have one surface here. And after the second surface, I'm going to add another surface. So I call it Despace element element 2, element 1, sorry, return, something like that. I'm going to explain why we need that surface. In Zemax, if you move one surface, then the rest of your optical system, then the rest of your system is going to move to the right direction. So we need to have another surface to pull back everything to just see the effect of moving the first element. So in order to do that, we have Dspace element 1. By changing the thickness, we can move it, but right now we need to move all other parts of the system, move it back. So for the thickness of the element 1 return, we're going to use pickup. Use pickup, and I'm going to pick up a value from Dspace element 1 surface, which is surface 2. So I'm going to, for from surface, I'm going to put 2. And for the scale factor, I'm going to put -1. So let's update it. So right now I have one surface before and I have one surface after that the pickup is negative I mean the value of the thickness multiplied by -1. So because those two surfaces are dummy surfaces, so you click on those dummy surfaces, go to properties. Let me make it bigger that you can see it better. Go to draw, skip rays to this surface, and don't draw this surface because we don't need to draw them. And then go to surface 5, which is Dspace return, skip rays to this surface, don't draw it. So right now, it's much nicer. Okay, it's like a regular lens system. Right now, and then the other thing is I want to see the effect on the focus. So at the last element before the image, I'm going to add another dummy surface. So this surface, you can call it defocus or dummy surface. So I have another surface here. Let me focus it again. Focus system again. Okay, yeah, the number is 8.10 to the -6. So those are on top of each other. So right now I have two surfaces here because my system is at focus. If I change the D space of element 1, let's say I'm going to move it 2 millimeter to the right. So if I move it 2 millimeter to the right, I'm going to put 2 and update it. So you can see my lens element moved by 2 millimeter to the right, and my system is not at focus because my first element moved by 2 millimeter. Now we want to see how much is out of focus. In order to see that, from the last surface, which is our dummy surface, this surface, our previous focus, now we want to see what is the new focus. So for the thickness, we click on marginal ray heights and put 0 for both of them and quick focus. Right now, you can see that's my old focus plane, and this is my new focus. And the distance between this surface and my image plane is the amount of, you know, the effect of, when I move this surface, for example, by 2 millimeter, how much my how much is my defocus? Our defocus is 4.471. So now let's move it by negative 1 millimeter to the left. When you want to move it to the left, you put negative values, hit enter. My lens element moved by 2 millimeter. And again, I need to focus it. Go to the last, click on marginal ray height, put 0, focus it. Yeah, here you can see this is my old focus and this is my new focus. And if you move it by negative, I move it by how much? Yeah, I de-space it by negative 1 millimeter, which means I move it in left direction. My focus moved by negative 2.334 millimeter left direction. So we can do the same for different elements. Let's put 0 for this surface. So let's put 0. Let's solve it by marginal ray heights. Quick focus. Okay. Right now my system is at focus. Now I'm going to do the same for the third element. So surface 8 is the first surface, second surface of elements 8. So I'm going to add another surface here. Again, call it Despace element 3. I'm going to add another surface. So you can see I have one surface here, another surface after the second surface of element 3. Insert surface after Despace element 3 return. So as I said, for the thickness, we choose pickup from surface 8, which is the Despace element 3. Oh, sorry, from surface 8. And the scale factor, as always, is -1. So I have Despace. Now I'm going to go to settings for surface 8. Skip, don't draw the surface. And for surface 11, skip and don't draw the surface. And now it's much nicer. So for surface 3, I have Despace. So for the thickness, I'm going to move it 1 millimeter to the right. So put 1 millimeter. And now you can see it's defocused. So to see the effect on the focal point, go to marginal ray height and quick focus. Now I can see it's about 1.8 millimeter. Now let's move it, let's say by a -2 millimeter, which means that I'm going to move it in this direction to the left. So for Despace element 3, for the thickness, I'm going to put -1 or -2. My lens element is going to move to left direction. And again, let's see the effect on the focus, marginal ray height. quick focus again. Now you can see my focus moved by negative 3.975 to the left. So with this method, we can change any optical element in Z direction. Thank you very much.